Hello everyone, this is Bill Apter at OneWrestling.com, and this is a disclaimer. You people have become so irritated by the comments made by star maker, self-proclaimed star maker, Kenny Bolin, that, well, we're giving him a form. There are a lot of people who actually like his personality. So I want to state that this new segment are strictly the opinions of Kenny Bolin, not my opinions. Okay, he says what he wants to say. No one here at OneWrestling.com is responsible for anything that this guy says except Kenny Bolin. Is he telling us the truth, or is it BS, which stands for Bolin Services? You'll have to decide that. So let's go right now to the wrestling reporter, me, and the heel supporter, Kenny Starmaker Bolin.
Brock Lesnar, you had no right to bully me.
Hello everyone, for OneWrestling.com, this is Bill Apter, and welcome to episode 3 in the new series that you people have really gotten into, the heel supporter, that guy, and the wrestling reporter, that's me, Bill Apter, Kenny Bolin, the heel supporter. Boy, what a reaction, huh?
Well, it seems that we're having about a 50-50 split out there as to what people think about that.
Yeah. Well,
I told you I didn't ask for the name heel supporter. That seemed to be given to me. But it is another view. It is another perspective that isn't always been seen here on this report. So glad that I can be a part of it. Even you getting a little hate mail.
yeah. Yeah, I do want to
believe
mention. I do want to mention something, by the way, that I don't mind comments levied toward you or me, as long as people aren't cussing. Let's cussing.
Exactly.
Let's
Clean it up.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want to say, but a little good taste out there.
Show that you have a vocabulary if you want to
Exactly.
express something in the negative. Just
Yeah.
show you got some education.
Exactly. And there was one guy out there who really tore me apart, but I've made peace with. He's a great guy, and he understands. Remember, we're exchanging ideas. This is a show, okay? And
The weird thing is the guy that reprimanded you didn't like me.
yeah.
Well.
And the other thing I want to say is, back in the glory days of the wrestling magazines, as you know, it started with Dan Shockett and then Eddie Elner being the heel supporters. And my feeling is, which is why I gave Kenny that name, is that he really follows in the lineage of Dan Shockett and Eddie Elner. He says what's on his mind. And if it bothers somebody, doesn't matter to you, does it?
Well, I'm not tied to anybody, Bill. Everyone else is trying to get a job somewhere, trying to get employment somewhere, impress somebody. I've served my time, as they might say, at OVW. I was loyal. I had offers from other companies. I never went anywhere. I stayed connected with them for nearly 20 years.
Yeah.
I would have been with Nick Goulas for 30 years had he stayed alive. I'm a loyal type employee. I made enough money. I didn't get rich. I'm not a millionaire, but I did well. And I'm set for the rest of my life now. Not rich, but if I'm smart, I'm set for the rest of my life. And I think that's all you can
Wait a minute.
ask.
I take exception to something. You said that you're not tied to anybody. If you will move a little bit to your left, we will show. The other way. I'm sorry. You are tied to some. You are tied to that lovely Labrador.
That is my lovely Labrador. That is Tucal.
Yeah.
Tucal, as a matter of fact, slept outside with me all night. I have a big covered deck outside, and it rained here for the first time in 45 days.
Wow.
And we slept in my big leather chair outside under my deck all night long from 3 a.m. till 11:45 today. The only reason we woke up is because that bad mailman woke us up bringing me packages.
All right.
But we got over it.
Nothing. He's not saying anything bad about mailmen. So I opened this up to several people. I opened this up to several people this week on the OneWrestling.com family team, that if they'd like to send me a comment or something that I would be glad to, right before we go on the air, to tape me speaking with them. And we have a very interesting question from our NXT correspondent, John Osting. So let's take a look at that right now.
Sure.
Yes, Kenny, I would like to know how you think Paul Heyman is currently handling Brock Lesnar as his advocate, and did you have any interaction with him when he was in OVW?
Okay. So, Kenny, that was a very interesting question from John Osting, our NXT reporter. What year did you first meet Brock Lesnar?
I believe it's probably been around 2000, 2001. It was right at the start of the WWE developmental with OVW. And we received Brock Lesnar and a few other that I would call muscle heads that came here. He was obviously the standout of the bunch. Shelton Benjamin came here around that time. And
Actually, Batista was down there as Leviathan at that point.
Yeah, I bring up Musclehead and you think of Batista.
No, don't take that wrong. Okay, he's twisting my words again.
Now you're going to get letters from Batista. That'll teach you. So, as a matter of fact, I had my run-ins with Batista as well.
Well, we'll talk about that on another episode.
Another day.
Right.
For whatever reason, me and the Muscleheads didn't get along too well. I can't figure out why. But Lesnar, I did his first ever television appearance with him on Fox 41, and before he'd ever even appeared on OVW TV. So I thought he and I were good friends. He'd come over to my house. He would watch the pay-per-views with me. We would have big chili dog and burger cookouts. He went to my brother's home, Biscuits and Gravy Razor, who was in my book. He would go to his home and do hunting out on my brother's property, who had, Lord, 75, 80 acres out there in Henry County. And I thought we were tight, good friends.
Okay.
So we had a show at the Boys and Girls Club in Louisville, Kentucky, probably just a few miles from where I live right now. The temperature that night was about 98 degrees, no air conditioning. They had a giant fan in the place and about 300 rabid kids who were dying to see pro wrestling.
Of course.
And, the temperature was through. And I had on a brown silk shirt with a button-up collar that looked like the old style, button-up collars that went with your fancy suits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had that on, and I had soaked that thing to the gills. It was I managed 2 matches that night. John Cena, Sylvester Turkey, Rico Constantino. It was miserable in this place. So the show ends, the fans are out, and Brock Lesnar's girlfriend, who he's engaged to, who had been to my house 100 times, who I had hugged 100 times, and who I had kissed on the cheek 100 times. Mm-hmm. Well, this particular night, I didn't hug her and I didn't kiss her because I was soaked in sweat so bad, I wouldn't put anybody through that, including my worst enemy. So I did the Hollywood thing, Bill. I did the mwah, mwah. I did that. Never touched her.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have mattered if I did in my eyes, but I never touched her. Okay. Here comes Brock Lesnar through the door. He's on the ring crew. This is when apparently Seven had done something to piss everybody off in Memphis and made everybody now a part of the ring crew. And people weren't very happy about that.
Okay.
So Brock comes through the door and he says, "Get your hands off my woman, Bolin." And I'm looking at him thinking, the show's over, Brock. There's no need to carry on anything here. The show's over. I was like, oh, okay, Brock. No, not to me. Playing along with him for whoever he's trying to entertain. And he says, "I mean what I say. Get your hands off from her, US." He calls me an SOB. And I look at it, I said, "Are you serious?" He says, and then he goes on a bit of a cussing rant telling me what he's going to do to me if I ever touch his wife-to-be again. I said, "Number one, Brock, I never touched her. Number two, I've kissed your woman on the cheek 100 times. It never bothered you before. What is your problem?" So now he comes over and he gets in my face. And I'm going, what the heck is the matter with this guy? So he's nose to nose with me. He says, "You ever touch her again and I will effing kill you." I said, "All right, Brock, point made." And then his girlfriend says, "Brock, leave him alone. He never touched me." He turns to her. Can I say the B word here, Bill?
No, you can just use the initial. It's okay.
He turns over. He says, "Shut up, B. I ain't talking to you." So now she's hot. And then he looks at me again. I said, "You're out of line, pal." So he takes his hand and he pie faces me. Well, the worst thing I did is I didn't go down. It pissed him off that I did not go down. My son loses it. He's going, oh, God, Dad's going to get killed. He runs downstairs and gets Sylvester Turkey, runs him back up. Turkey comes charging up there and gets up in Brock's face. He says, hey, he says, you want to fight somebody, why don't you fight somebody your size that's capable of fighting you? He says, you want to fight me. Brock looked at him and walked away. So that's where Brock was then as opposed to where he is now, because now that might be a different story.
So what you're saying, basically, you feel like you were being bullied.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
this big giant wrestler, a trained professional. I'm a manager, man. I mean, I took care of my wrestlers. I fed them. I babied them. I took care of them. I got them booked on their personal appearances, and here he is wanting to kill me. No,
He is. You know, I've met him a few times. I don't know him at all, but
hope he didn't kiss his girlfriend.
no, definitely not. But the thing is that even when I'm just walking in the dressing room area down the hallways and I see him, he just has this air of real intensity about him. One that I haven't seen really from anyone, which is, you know, he's got the upcoming, depending upon when you're watching this, the Go to Hell tour, and he pretty much told you to go to hell back then, Kenny. And yeah, he's one of the most intense athletes, and just so intimidating.
I've been in the business 28 years, and I'm normally proud to say I'm not scared of anybody.
Yeah.
That man scares me.
Yeah, he scares everybody because can you imagine standing across from him in the ring?
I have.
Right.
Hiding behind another wrestler normally, but
Behind another. All right, so
behind Turkey or Rico or
let's move on to the second part of John Osting's question. He talked about Paul Heyman being the advocate, but I call
this the John Osting show all of a sudden.
No.
Yeah.
But he talked about Paul Heyman. His question was Paul Heyman about being the advocate, and I know he calls him an advocate, but I still call him a manager. How do you think he is handling Lesnar as a manager?
Well, that's funny. That's funny that you say that because he does go through great extent to point himself out as an advocate, not a manager, not a sidekick, not the various different adjectives that you could use to describe that position, but an advocate. But a much needed one because let's face it, I don't know that Brock Lesnar could say poop if he had a mouthful. He needs somebody to do his talking for him. In my opinion, at OVW, I should have been managing Brock Lesnar instead of John Cena. John Cena needed no help from me. We worked good as a team. I, and Rico Constantino were a good trifecta.
But you should have managed Brock Lesnar?
Oh, absolutely. I could have done a lot more for Brock under those standpoints. But they had him here as a babyface at that time with absolutely no intentions of making him a heel. John Cena, the good-looking pretty boy, who was doing a TV series at that time, went on to do a few movies. I forget the name of the TV series. You might be able to think of it. It was on UPN or something. But here, the boy with the Hollywood looks, is the heel with me, and then the guy who should have been the heel was Brock Lesnar, and we got that all wrong. Well, we didn't get it wrong. Jimmy Cornette got it wrong. He was the booker.
So do you think? Do you think that Heyman is doing a decent job as the manager?
Absolutely. Because one thing about it, I know that my good friend Jimmy Cornette and Heyman have had their history. They don't particularly care for each other. I actually quit OVW for a period of 4 months because of how Heyman runs a wrestling show. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for the Southern style that I was brought up with, and that was why I quit for 4 months. Okay. But he is perfect for Brock Lesnar. And Paul Heyman does things that I could never do. He does things that I don't think Jim Cornette or any of the other top managers could do.
He's an original.
He is an original. Yeah. And that's what some people have said about me, is that I'm quite different in the way that I present myself. Heyman even takes it to another level, if you ask me.
Okay.
But he does call himself an advocate.
So I want to ask you a question now. We talked the last time when we got off on a tangent about John Cena. Last week, we talked about coming up with a list, your list of the top 10 managers through history.
I'm going to stop you right there because Your people hounded me.
Yes.
Your producers and editors hounded me, wanted me to come up with a list of the top 10 managers, and I was flattered.
Yeah.
I was flattered that you asked me, because when I think about it, who knows more about managers than me?
Well, you were
No,
also a fan growing up. I mean,
I was a big fan,
Yeah.
big fan growing up. I've been a fan since probably at least 1966, and I'm going to give you my list of managers right here, because I thought long and hard on this. And as a matter of fact, I had to make it 11 managers.
11.
I
Okay.
didn't have. I had to expand it.
We will take it.
And
all
you
right?
tell me what you think of these managers as I name them, and I'll go up the list here.
Now, are you going to start at number 10 and work your way?
No, I'm going to start at number 11, Bill. Do you pay
Number
any
11. That's what I mean. I'm sorry.
Crying out loud.
I'm
All
sorry.
right, we're going to start at 11. Here we go. Number 11, Ted Turner.
Ted
I think an
Turner.
excellent pick. Ted Turner, number 11. Number 10, Wally Backman. Number 9, we're going to
Wally.
go with Dick Hauser. Number 8, we're going to go, this was tough because he also was with the Reds, Lou Piniella. Followed up by another Red, Sparky Anderson.
Kenny.
Number 6, I got Joe Torre.
Mr. Bolin.
Number 5.
Bolin Services. Hello.
What?
Hello. When we asked you to come up with the list of the top 10 managers,
Yeah.
we were talking pro wrestling managers.
Are you kidding me?
No.
This baseball season. We got the
I-
playoffs. Playoffs are
No,
rolling.
we were talking. I was talking about wrestling managers,
You
not.
said you knew I was a fan. You knew I was a big fan. Everyone knows I'm a big baseball fan. No one knows more about baseball than me. I thought you wanted my pick on baseball, man. I had Tony Perez at number 5, Walter Alston at 4, Eddie Stanky at 3. You know why? He was 1-0 and he quit. He managed one game and quit. That's great. I had him at 3. Tony La Russa at number 2 for body of work. And then Pete Rose, the number 1 manager of all time in baseball, 4 second place
Of course,
finishes.
WWE Hall of Famer
Who? Who are you talking about?
Pete Rose.
Well, he should be a Hall of Famer, but
WWE Hall
yeah.
WWE Hall of Famer.
But it's a good thing. So you wanted the wrestling list. It's a good thing because about a year ago, I wrote down my own personal right here in my little black book. And most people don't think I ever have a little black book. I have a little black book.
Which is all it's all BS.
The little black book. I don't know if
Well, it says so right there. BS, which is Bolin'S services, of
Thank
course.
you. But yeah, I think I've got a list. Let me look.
Wait a minute, you passed something by, Kenny.
Why?
Kenny, you passed something by. Pete Rose in the WWE Hall of Fame. Was it justified?
Well, he got his butt kicked by Kane on a yearly basis, and I think he even came out there as the San Diego Chicken once.
Okay.
Kane
I just
put it into that. So if Pete Rose belongs, and this will be another show, Bill, should Kenny Bolin be in the WWE Hall of Fame? And I think I can plead a pretty good case for myself, and using Pete Rose as an example.
Okay.
Let's book that for a future show.
we will do that. And you people, by the way, can send in your comments if Kenny Bolin should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, and
I
if
think
so,
that-
or if not, why?
I think this is going to be a landslide vote here. When people think about my entire body of work, what I've done, I think I'm a shoe-in. But we'll see what the people say.
Okay, so
All
let's
right.
go to the top 10. Do you actually have a list of the wrestling managers?
Yeah, I do. I just wish I'd known that's what you wanted, but I've got that here.
Okay.
I wrote this down first.
I know people don't realize that you have the Bolin files on hand there where you
Oh
keep
yeah,
these.
everything's right here.
Yeah, all these lists. Yep.
Yeah, everything I ever need is right here in arm's reach because I don't like to move much.
I noticed.
But number 10, and we'll see. And you give me your opinion on these as you hear. Now remember, people, this is going to have a bit of a southern flavor to it because I'm from the South. This is what I was raised on.
Okay.
This is what I saw on television. This is what I'm educated about.
Okay.
I don't speak of what I'm not educated about. I keep my mouth shut. And much like the screw job in Montreal, I know all about that. I created it, so I can talk about
Yes,
that.
we got a lot of. By the way, I'm from the South as well.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was born in the South Bronx. In
Yeah, I was
New
going
York.
to say South Philly, maybe.
Yeah,
I
no.
don't know if you're from the real.
I had to use that. I had to use that.
I
Go
had a
ahead.
feeling what was coming there.
All right.
All right, here we go. Well, if you're from the South Bronx, you're going to know my number 10 manager, Captain Lou Albano.
Oh yeah.
Probably pretty big in your ways, and a lot of people say, well, he's number 10. Kenny, is he a better manager than you? Well, of course not. He's dead. So I would definitely be better than him. Number 9.
Wait. Let's go back now because a lot of these managers of course, I covered during
Oh yeah, I don't doubt
my
that.
career. And the captain, he was brilliant. I mean, he managed so many tag team champions, and he always.
You covered the Civil War too.
I got a bad back from getting out of covered wagons. But the captain always went, I got it all: ability, agility, guts, maneuverability. He was a great mouthpiece. He really was. Yeah.
And I never did get the rubber bands though, so I had to penalize him for that. I just didn't get the rubber bands.
That was for the charity that he was involved with back then. That's why he had the rubber bands put in there.
Well, I have an upcoming charity as well. My pink cover for my book coming out very soon. I probably screwed you too. All proceeds 100% go to the Bolin Foundation. And I'm going to take a stab at a cure for cancer because those working on it now aren't doing so good.
Yeah,
so
I agree with you.
I'm going to take a shot at it.
All right, let's go to number 9.
Number 9, Jimmy Mouth of the South Hart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not too bad. He pretty good run, but
Mr. Megaphone.
Mr. Megaphone.
Yeah.
Number 8, Scott Bowden. And a lot of people are going to say, Scott Bowden, why would you choose him? Scott Bowden was the cousin, or possibly nephew, we never could really nail it down, to Bobby Bowden, who was one of the great football coaches of all time with the Florida State Seminoles. And I figure anybody that's related to Bobby Bowden's probably got championship blood in her. So it didn't really come out on television. He didn't really manage a lot of winners, but I think the potential was there. So for potential alone, we're going to give Scott Bowden number 8.
And what territory? What territory are we talking about?
Oh, that was Memphis. Jerry Jarrett gave him a job.
Okay.
The same person he didn't give a job in me.
Okay.
Thanks to Jimmy Cornette. We'll talk about that on
another show.
Number 7, Downtown Bruno. Are you Downtown Bruno? And I picked him for a particular reason. Number 1, he's held a job in the WWE longer than any talent that we've ever sent there.
Correct.
Now we didn't send Downtown Bruno. Apparently Jerry Lawler paved the way for him to get a job there. If there was anybody that I had lasting 30 days and out, was Downtown Bruno. He's been there forever.
He is. He's backstage. Yeah, he does everything.
You can't get rid of him. He's the cockroach of the WWE. And on top of that, his main claim to fame is that he was very proud of the street he was from, Fort Duquesne Boulevard. Every promo he ever cut, he talked about Fort Duquesne Boulevard. Well, I was very proud to be from 117 East Main Street from LaGrange, Kentucky, but you never heard it in one of my promos. So just for being very proud of where he was from and keeping a job in the WWE, you gotta give him. Right. Where did I put him? Number 7. Number 6. Let's see if you know this name. I bet you do. Number 6, Sam Bass.
Oh yeah, the great Sam Bass. Sure.
The great Sam Bass. And now, how many times did you ever hear Sam Bass cut a promo when he was managing Jerry Lawler?
Me personally? Several times.
Well, you heard several more than I did. I didn't hear Sam Bass say a whole lot the entire career that I watched him down here in Memphis. But you're a lot older than me, Bill. You've been around a lot longer.
We've established that already.
I think we mentioned that earlier, and maybe you saw some things.
I might actually be ready for. No, I'm not that old.
You're not that old.
No. The Undertaker's not waiting for me.
But
Go ahead.
Sam, he could be. Sam Bass was one of the greatest managers that ever was not needed. Some people say that about me and John Cena. Well, Cena didn't need Bolin. Well, some people are probably right. But Sam Bass was never needed for Jerry. But for whatever reason, they worked perfectly together.
Yeah, and he died in a terrible auto accident that just devastated Jerry Lawler.
I was in Florida. Jerry should have been in the car. I had just become friends with Jerry Lawler at that time. And I went around 1975. I went to Florida for 3 months to stay with my aunt, and I read about it on the plane coming back home. And you talk about devastated. Yeah. I loved Lawler and Bass. I mean, God, they were like a brother and uncle to me. And it just floored me that happened. And then when I found out Jerry was supposed to have been in the car, oh my, it was just tough.
Yeah.
Number 5, Mickey Poole. Familiar with Mickey Poole?
Say that name again?
Mickey Poole. You don't recall the name Mickey Poole? Oh, he's world famous.
Poole?
Probably, even though I've got Pool. Mickey Poole.
I remember Ricky Poole.
Mickey Poole managed Jerry Lawler. Some question whether or not he had all his facilities or not, but Mickey Poole managed Jerry Lawler, and he got Jerry's gas. He drove the cars. He took him to all the towns, and he managed Jerry Lawler in a match. And this went on for a while, but he managed Jerry Lawler in a hair match against Bill Dundee. There's just one problem. Jerry Lawler's hair was supposed to have been at stake, not Mickey Poole's. Well, when the match ended, they put Mickey Poole, somebody's hair had to go. So Jerry Lawler went to Mickey Poole and said, hey, I put your hair at stake in this match, which wasn't the case. You need to sit down and get your hair cut. Well, Mickey didn't want to do it. So they set him in the chair and they shaved him bald anyway. So he lost his hair for Jerry Lawler in a match against Bill Dundee that, from what I understand, he never found out about till they set him down in the chair and cut his hair.
And that qualified him for...
When you take one for the team like that, if that don't put you in the top 5 managers ever, I don't know what does.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 4, a name you may or may not be familiar with. I mentioned Eddie Stanky earlier, that
Yes.
he managed one baseball game, and he quit. He ended up 1-0. He never managed another game. Well, somebody that I know very well did the same thing. My beloved mother, Ma Bolin. Ma Bolin, 1-0. You know who she managed?
No.
Jerry the King Lawler.
Is that right? He's had more managers than anybody.
Apparently so. Didn't have me, but he had my mother.
Okay.
I had a match at Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom to where I was managing the Hammer. He was known as the Hammer here, against Jerry Lawler. My mother had never been to one of my matches in her life. But at Six Flags, I look out in the crowd in about the 12th row, and there's my mother. So during my promo, I said, this match is so huge tonight. Even my mother is here, a woman who has never seen one of my matches in her life. I see you out there, Mom. There you are. Hello. I'm going to win this one for you, Ma. 12th row, and I even point her out. Jerry Lawler takes the microphone. He says, yeah, Kenny. He says, I noticed that you bragging about your mother being here tonight. He says that you go by Kenny the King Bolin, the king of managers. I'm Jerry the King Lawler, the king of wrestling. Why don't we ask your mother who she's here to see? Well, it's quite obvious who she's here to see. Well, let's ask her. So he says, hey, Ma Bolin, who are you here to see? Are you here to see Kenny the King or Jerry the King? So I think I'm pretty sure what that answer is going to be.
Yeah.
I want you to know that old bag stood up and she said, I'm here for you, Jerry. Well, I lost my mind. I tried to climb that rail. I would have fist fought her right there in the 12th row if I could have got to her. Security held me from her. So what I did, I had some connections at Six Flags. I had her thrown out. I had her thrown out of the
You had
building.
your mother thrown out.
Well, for rooting for Jerry Lawler over me, I wasn't going to stand for that. She wasn't going to use my ticket for that. So what I did is the next night we had a return grudge match against Jerry Lawler the next night with Jacob Duncan. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. We got him one night. We're going to get him the next. Well, he comes out to the ring and he says, oh, by the way, Kenny, I got a little surprise for you. I said, yeah, what's that? He says, remember your mother you had thrown out of Six Flags? Uh-huh, yeah, I remember it real well. I did it. He said, well, I found out I got a little stroke around her, too. He said, I saw an old woman out at the gates at Six Flags trying to get in. She couldn't get in. He said, I pulled a few strings. Kenny, she's here tonight. She's in the building. Yeah, all right, I can deal with that. Oh, by the way, she's going to be closer than you think. Ma, would you come on down? They brought her out, set her in the corner with Jerry Lawler. She managed Jerry Lawler against me, and he held me over the ropes. And I want you to know that old biddy slapped me in the face 3 times at the encouragement of Dean Hill, Danny Davis, and Jimmy Cornette. Now, what kind of love is that from a mother? And that led to why I kicked my mother out of her home. I think we've talked about that before.
We did.
For the extended rent. And that's where that history come from.
Okay,
She's a hateful
all right.
old bag.
All right, well, that is why.
Why are we pushing that? Why are we pushing that? You got my foot. Good.
Because that's what he said afterwards. It's good to be king. Anyway, let's go on to
Yes,
the...
they do. All right. Well, and plus there's another part of history with Ma Bolin is that we are the only 3-generation managers in the history of pro wrestling. And you will know this as good as anybody. You're an historian. Name me any other family who was solely managers, never wrestled, that went beyond 1 generation. You can't do it. Me and Prince were the only 2 generation. Now we're the only 3 because of Ma Bolin and the one match she managed with Jerry Lawler. And speaking of the Prince, here he is at number 3, my son, Prince Bolin. And you're thinking, how in the hell did he make number 3? Well, he took over Bolin Services.
I was just going to ask you that. How the hell did he make number 3?
Well, now I'm going to answer it for you.
Okay.
I'm going to educate you if you'll shut
I'll
up.
go ahead.
And what he did was he took over Bolin Services when it was at the peak of its game. My health was declining, and I was forced into retirement. My son, thankfully, came in and took over against his will. He didn't want to. He didn't want to inherit such a legacy, so he renamed it BS 2.0. And I want you to know he meant his BS 2.0 at OVW for the better part of almost 4 years.
Wow.
Practically was undefeated on television, was known as one of the great promos on that television show. And then out of respect for me, when I retired in 2012, he went on about 3 or 4 more weeks. He says, Dad, I can't do it. He said, it ain't the same around there without you. If you're retiring, I'm retiring. And here he was on a roll. He was going to break all my records. Maybe not my WWE appearance records that I made with all the boys, but he was going to break a lot of records. He was going to be the greatest thing ever. And I want you to know that out of love for me, he retired only 4 years in after his old Paul had put in 28 years. That is love that you can't only compare maybe with Mark and Lucas McCain. I think that would be the closest father-son relationship that you could build.
We're talking about the classic TV show, in case you don't know out there, of the Rifleman.
The Rifleman, absolutely.
Yeah, it's on TV land for you younger people who never heard of it. Great show.
And Me TV, it's on there.
Yes, great show.
And how many shots is in that rifle at the opening?
I don't know. How many?
11.
Wow, I didn't know that. I forgot. You're right. I remember that now.
People don't know 11 shots. He'll hit you if he's got 11 shots.
Yeah.
Number 2. I'm going to have you guess. Who do you think I got at number 2? There's some obvious names I've left off here. I'm readjusting.
Well, I would think
my leg is going to sleep. So
I would think Bobby the Brain Heenan.
That's a good pick. Who else would you have? Who have I left off this list that might be kind of obvious for number 2?
Well, we're talking now. Well, the Grand Wizard, of course.
Grand Wizard, okay. Who else? Pick 1 or 2 more. So I'm going to see.
Gary Hart.
Okay, no, he didn't make it. Go ahead.
Well, who have you got, Kenny?
Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Oh, okay. I was right, and I did not. We never met to discuss this before. So
now, wait, nothing rehearsed here, or that name wouldn't
come out. No, not at all.
There's another name out there, but apparently you're in agreement with me, and I'm glad you didn't pick the name because obviously you agree with me.
Yeah.
That person is not deserving of the number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 10 slot. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Bobby the Brain Heenan, one of the great managers of all time, but he was actually probably as good a wrestler as he was a manager.
Yeah.
Certainly a better bump taker than about anybody you'll see today.
Is that right?
I got to work one show with Bobby Heenan in Louisville, and it was totally improv. He did not want to rehearse a thing. He says, Kenny, I got a gift for you, and I'm bringing you a gift to present you, to establish you as the greatest manager ever in the history of wrestling, and that's all you need to know. And that's what we did. We went out there and we improv'd everything. It was one of the most exciting segments I ever did because it ends up in a brawl with me and him. It was totally...
That's great. I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, and well, I've got it on my DVD right here. A Decade of BS. It's on that DVD right there, and the Bobby Heenan bit is on there along with some Jimmy Valiant stuff with me and Valiant, Jerry the King Lawler. But
where can you get that? Where can people find that?
Go to Facebook. Go to my Facebook page. Just tell me what you want or need. The prices are well established. They're posted in my photo albums. But if you just need to know the price, just ask me.
All
You
right.
can get my Beats by Bolin headphones, my book, obviously. Just so many different things. But Bobby Heenan could have been number 1, but he was also a pretty good wrestler. And I'm rewarding managers here, and just one of the great bump takers that ever lived. No one took a bump as good as Bobby Heenan. So that brings us down to number 1.
All right.
All right. Now,
Drum roll. Egg roll.
once again,
Something.
I'm going to give you 3 or 4 guesses as to who might be in that number 1 slot, and
I've got all 3 of them. I know all 3.
let's hear them.
Kenny Bolin.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Bolin.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Bolin.
I can't fool you, can I? I can't fool the great Bill Apter.
I don't think you could have fooled anybody out there.
And it was obvious you obviously feel that way because you didn't throw any other names out there. You could have thrown 2 others. You could have said Kenny Bolin.
Something just told me to say that.
Something, well, it is very good that it did. Why am I the number 1 manager of all time? Body of work. 28 years in the business. Worked for Nick Goulas. Only reason I didn't work for him for 30 years is that he died on me. Danny Davis. The only reason I worked for him for 20 years is because he wouldn't die on me. So I had to stay. I was forced there because I'm loyal. I won't leave. There's many days me and Danny had meetings. I wish you'd die, Danny Davis. But you know what? He wouldn't do it, and he's still alive today.
Yeah.
So I finally had to retire from the business just out of common decency. I couldn't go anywhere else because I didn't want to be deemed as a non-loyal participant of the business. Jimmy Cornette. Oh, his name didn't make the list, did it?
You know, I was going to say, quite obviously, no, it didn't.
Well, do you want to know why his name didn't make the list?
Go ahead.
Jimmy Cornette did not make the list. Once again, we have to talk body of work. I elevated every single wrestler that I ever managed. No one had ever heard of John Cena. Now he's the face of the WWE. Mark Henry, barely a blip in the wind. Now the world's strongest man, still in the WWE. The Miz, a struggling reality show guy. Now one of the top guys in the WWE. Damian Sandow, no matter what they give him, he takes the ball and runs with it. And they keep messing with him. He ought to be one of the big stars in the WWE right now, but for some reason, he seems to be on the sidelines right now. But the fans realize his talents, and he got those talents from me. He lived with me for 3 years. He learned not everything I know, but enough to get by and enough to be a success in the WWE. And I'm naming people, Mr. Apter, that are still in the WWE. The Brock Lesnars who feuded with me, the Randy Ortons who feuded with me, the I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out. Orton, help me out there, Mr. Apter.
Well, of course, when Batista was there.
Batista, when Batista was there, but he didn't like me too well either. But the key to get to the WWE when you were in OVW is to be with me or be against me. But you had to be one or the other. You couldn't be on the side.
You had to be associated somehow with Kenny Bolin.
You had to be seen on the DVDs that were getting sent up north. So when people say, Kenny, did you manage Orton? I may as well have. He was in all the matches with me and John Cena, me and Rico Constantino. So, yeah, I managed him. Rico Constantino was another huge success. It'd still be there today. Brock Lesnar, elevated because of me. So much of the roster you see in the WWE right now, and remember, I retired from managing in 2008. I retired from commentary in 2012. Those people are still there, managed by me. Name me one person today who's still making a buck in the wrestling business that Jimmy Cornette managed. Name me the guy.
Fans, that's up to you because I can't think of that right now.
And if
Kenny,
you can't think about it, you can't think about it either, fans. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, you can send in
get these other managers
underneath here on YouTube, or you can send us
absolutely
a comment. I'd like
any
it.
of these other managers, if they got one guy still making a buck in the business today, other than setting up at a bingo hall and selling their merchandise, name me the guy. I'm the guy. I'm the top dog.
You're invited to do that, everybody.
And you didn't even argue with me, Bill. You knew in your heart that I was the greatest manager that ever lived.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal, Kenny. Here's the deal. Because we're running about the half-hour point, so I'm getting the signal that we have to wrap this up. So
we can go 90 minutes, and people would love this.
The thinking time right now is not here, but let's see what the fans have to say. But I want to congratulate you for picking you as the number one manager of all time.
To see and recognize that I was the best of all time is a talent upon myself. To realize that I was number one. Not a lot of people would be humble enough to realize it, but I was. And I also want to thank you for being the man to recognize what a talent I was, to create a weekly segment, who I'd turned down. All the other companies wanting to do weekly segments with me. Court Bauer over at MLW wanted me to work like a trained monkey, wanting me to do.
Wait! We're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. No. This is. We're not going to trash anybody here. We're just going to.
You got a mouse in your pocket? I was going to trash him.
No, that's all right. We're just going to revel in the fact that you've picked yourself as the number one greatest manager of all time.
You ought to be airing this.
Yeah.
Or you cutting me off and we're not going to trash anybody. You don't have to trash them. I'll trash them.
That's it. If you'd like to see Kenny Bolin trash anybody, just write in or here on YouTube and let us know who you would like Kenny Bolin to trash, and we'll see if we can work it out. Kenny,
We'll listen to the Bowling Alley. That's pretty much what that show's about.
All right. Thank you again. And again, fans, please leave your thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, whatever. And
If you dare leave a thumbs down, I will come to your home and I will slap you around like a red-headed stepchild. If you don't give me no thumbs down.
He'll do that. He'll do that. Kenny Bolin, thank you very much for OneWrestling.com. This is Bill Apter, the wrestling reporter, with this guy, the heel supporter. We'll see you next week.
Good day.